The headlines of this hour on VTV News. Vietnam aims to become strategic center of the global supply chain. And later on, critical response required for the severe drought in the Central Highlands. In a world news, North Korea conducts hypersonic missile test.
Broadcasting from Hanoi, the capital of Vietnam. VTV News starts right now.
Good afternoon. It is currently 3 p.m. local time and you're tuning in to 30 minutes of VTV News. I'm Lin Lei with the latest updates. Now, on the top news of this hour, Vietnam continues to establish itself as a strategic hub in the global supply chain, according to investors and FDI enterprises at a meeting with Prime Minister Phie. Despite global turmoil from price increases, inflation and supply chain disruptions, Vietnam has managed to sustain its growth and make significant advancements post-pandemic. As per the latest Business Confidence Index survey by Eurocham, more than a third of its members ranked Vietnam among the top 3 global investment destinations. Over half of its members intend to increase investment in Vietnam, particularly in high-tech manufacturing. South Korea's official development assistance, or ODA, to Vietnam is projected to exceed $52 million this year, nearly double the amount in 2023, as reported by the president of the Korea International Cooperation Agency, or KOICA. The total ODA committed to loans for Vietnam from 2024 to 2027 is $200 million. This funding is primarily aimed at environmental, healthcare, education, and digital transformation initiatives. Currently, South Korea is the leading country in direct investment in Vietnam with a total accumulated capital of $86 billion. It also ranks second in tourism development cooperation and third in trade with Vietnam. Several key projects have been launched in the Mekong Delta to alleviate traffic infrastructure bottlenecks. Numerous industrial parks have also been constructed to accommodate FDI enterprises. Moreover, the region has enhanced its investment and business environment to attract foreign capital.
The province of Vĩnh Long has been proactive in approaching foreign businesses, including a trip to India to discuss cooperation mechanisms in November of the previous year. In early March of the current year, Indian enterprises visited Vĩnh Long to promote investment in trade, education, tourism, technology, and healthcare. Several cooperation agreements have been signed.
Important day for all of us. I know it is the first time we are doing it, but I'm sure we'll do it repeatedly, regularly. We'll also invite the entrepreneurs from Vĩnh province to travel to India, have to work together to take the realization of our leaders, to take the trade, take the investment to higher levels.
Meanwhile, this company, which specializes in manufacturing protective clothing and industrial and medical masks, has been operating in Sopchang province for 3 years. It has provided stable jobs and income for 800 local workers.
The provincial authorities have created favorable conditions and support policies for our company. They also pay attention to resolving obstacles for us, if any.
Sopchang has 21 FDI projects with a total registered capital of over $944 million, with 10 projects in operation.
We have simplified administrative procedures for businesses and investors. We have also assigned the Investment Promotion Center of the Department of Planning and Investment to support investors at all stages.
Experts indicate that many foreign invested projects are gravitating towards the Mekong Delta. This trend can be attributed to its well-coordinated transportation infrastructure, abundant high-quality labor, and policies that are favorable to investment.
The project to enhance technical infrastructure for low-carbon rice development in the Mekong Delta is projected to cost approximately $375 million. This budget is proposed in the plan to implement the government project of cultivating 1 million hectares of specialized, high-quality, low-emission rice from 2026 to 2031. The investment is divided into 3 components, with Component 1 developing a high-quality, low-carbon rice value chain, receiving the majority of the funds, with an allocation of $350 million. Deemed critical in the Asia-Pacific region by the World Bank, this project is expected to serve as a model for other Asian countries. The World Bank has also agreed to purchase the project's carbon credits. In recent times, green production practices have not only helped lower the costs of producing dragon fruit, but also protected farmers' health. The use of e-diaries in building a green dragon fruit chain has also ensured that consumers have access to transparent product information.
Over the past 2 years, all activities in this dragon fruit garden have been meticulously recorded and updated on the electronic diary application, Green Chain of Dragon Fruit. As a unit exporting more than 90% of its fresh dragon fruit to demanding markets like Europe and Australia, this e-diary has significantly aided its export process.
We upload photos of our production. This is a mandatory requirement for official exports. Our partners know how we cultivate and trust our products.
Since 2022, Ben Thuan Province has implemented an electronic traceability system at cooperatives and enterprises to reduce emissions. This system calculates the amount of emitted carbon based on updated data. Both gardeners and consumers can easily update the dragon fruit's carbon footprint. The province's agricultural sector is currently focusing on enhancing the transparency of production information and promoting environmentally friendly production methods.
This is an effective solution to respond to climate change and meet both domestic and global market demands, which are moving towards green and environmentally responsible production. This also conserves resources and proves that products are made from farm to table.
Ben Thuan is planning to increase the cultivation area of green dragon fruit across the province. By focusing on environmentally and socially responsible production, a sustainable dragon fruit supply chain can be established. This will aid in enhancing the competitive position of Ben Thuan dragon fruit in the international market.
After 3 days of coordination with authorities at the international border gates of Hữu Nghị in Lạng Sơn, Vietnam, and Hữu Nghị Quan, nearly 1,000 trucks carrying Chinese export goods have been cleared to enter Vietnam. These goods include new cars, electronic equipment, components, and raw materials. Previously, Vietnam and China agreed to extend customs clearance hours by 2 hours from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. from March the 17th to the 19th. Starting on March the 20th, the clearance period at the Hữu Nghị Quan International Border Gates returned to the regular schedule of 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. daily. Despite a decrease in overall credit growth in the economy during the first 2 months of the year, real estate was one of 2 sectors showing positive credit growth. However, due to the ongoing shortcomings, international organizations and experts have expressed concern about supply shortages. Hence, specific solutions are required to achieve the completion of 130,000 social housing units this year.
In 2023, 44 housing projects, totaling over 36,000 units, were completed and licensed for low-income earners and industrial park workers. However, this figure is considered modest compared to the target of 1 million units by 2030. The primary reason for this shortfall is the limited availability of land.
Market value frameworks, and these particularly for compensation and clearance of land, has been a problem, and the implementation has been a problem, and the Prime Minister has been very vocal, saying about the disbursement of money for infrastructure and these major projects.
According to the Vietnam Real Estate Association, there is a notable absence of affordable housing in the market. The prices of affordable housing in Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City have risen by 20 to 30%.
When developers are acquiring new projects, a lot of the land prices are very high, which is forcing prices up. That's also creating a bit of a feasibility issue in these projects as well. So I think the government just needs to have stronger town planning and infrastructure initiatives around transport, main roads, some of these factors that will make the real estate market more fluid.
Licensing, approvals, permits are very lengthy and sometimes very unpredictable. It makes the cost higher. It makes the project individually less profitable.
According to Wibe News analysis, localities continue to struggle with enforcing regulations and ensuring appropriate land use planning. Additionally, access to credit is still a significant hurdle. Only about 26 million United States dollars of the 120 trillion Vietnamese dongs, 5.11 billion US dollars credit package for social housing development has been disbursed after over 10 months of implementation.
From our viewpoint, lending rates of 7.5 to 8% per annum for commercial banks and 4.8% per annum for social policy banks are still high. It's crucial to create more favorable conditions and simplify the approval process for investors. The policy should also be widely promoted so that home buyers can access this credit package.
It's just the tip of the iceberg, really. There's a lot that will need to be done in a concerted effort over longer periods of time. You know, there are things that the government would be aware of that other jurisdictions and countries do to support the development of the affordable housing, etc. You know, there's things they could do with mortgage products over longer periods of time.
Prime Minister Pham Minh Chinh recently oversaw a conference focused on promoting social housing development. During this conference, he assigned specific tasks to ministries, departments, and localities to alleviate complications in the social housing sector. In addition to these efforts, businesses and experts are anticipating changes in the legal framework related to project approval and credit access procedures. They also expect an acceleration in site clearance to create land funds for imminent project implementation.
Before we move on, let's have a look at the exchange rate between the Vietnam dong and some world currencies in today's market. Coming up next on VTV News. Critical response required for a severe drought in the Central Highlands. And later on, Sơn La City joins the UNESCO Global Learning City Network. Welcome back to VTV News Live. Located in the lush Mekong Delta, Bến Tre province is known for its expansive orchards and vibrant floral landscapes. Unfortunately, recent drought and saltwater intrusion have significantly impacted local agriculture. In response, the province has initiated efforts to combat irrigation water scarcity. A key part of this initiative is the Cái Hàng Culvert project. Started in August of the previous year in Mỏ Cày Bắc and Chợ Lách districts, the project is targeted for completion by August of the following year. Another project with investment of over $6 million comprises vital components such as saltwater prevention sluices, freshwater reservoirs, enclosed dikes, and improved road networks. Currently, about 20% of the planned work has been completed. The dry season has just begun, yet the Central Highlands are already experiencing severe drought. The most pressing issue for these localities is securing adequate water sources and managing them effectively to mitigate the effects of the drought. Our report comes from Lâm Đồng province, one of the country's key agricultural production regions.
Luang's 3 acres of land have been abandoned for the past 4 months. Water pipes are strewn all over the garden, but none have water. The lack of irrigation water prevents the growth of vegetables. Although it's not yet the peak of the drought, a series of production lands around Dan Kia Suối Vàng Lake in Lạc Dương district, Lâm Đồng province, are already facing severe water shortages.
Before, there was water for planting, but now it's too dry, so I have to give up.
In Lâm Đồng province, there are 230 reservoirs. Due to prolonged hot weather, most of these reservoirs have seen a reduction of their water levels. The average decrease ranges from half a meter to 5 meters, with some reservoirs even reaching the dead water level. Many farming households are now commonly navigating back and forth in search of water sources.
There hasn't been a drop of rain for 5 months, so the land is dry. Irrigation has to rely on drilled wells. There is no fresh water.
Since the start of the year, Lâm Đồng province has implemented integrated solutions such as proper regulation of water in irrigation works, crop conversion, and promoting water conservation.
The province has developed small-scale irrigation, in-field irrigation, and advanced water-saving irrigation techniques. Up to now, the province has approximately 50,000 hectares dedicated to water-saving irrigation. The Provincial People's Committee and People's Council have also issued policies to support water-saving irrigation for the province's for main crops: tea, coffee, mulberry, and fruit trees.
Up to 9,000 hectares of arable land will lack irrigation water, affecting 1,700 households with water scarcity. The foremost strategy for addressing the drought in Lâm Đồng and the entire Central Highlands is to manage water effectively. The guiding principle is that people should never lack water for daily use, regardless of the circumstances.
Reservoirs in the Central Highlands and Central region are gradually drying up, heightening the risk of water shortage in the next 1 to 2 months. Currently, 45 irrigation reservoirs in Bình Định, Ninh Thuận, Bình Thuận, Kon Tum, Đắk Lắk, Đắk Nông, Lâm Đồng are nearing depletion or at critically low levels. The peak of the drought is expected in the next 1 to 2 months during the El Niño effect. The South Central and Central Highlands regions are experiencing strong sunshine and temperatures that are 0.5 to 1.5 degrees Celsius higher than usual. Rainfall is also 15 to 30% lower than usual, potentially reducing river flows, expanding drought areas, and increasing the risk of water shortage. As a result, locals are advised to start using water more efficiently immediately. Sơn La City, located in Sơn La Province, has been registered in the Global Learning City Network of the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, UNESCO. The honoring ceremony was held Tuesday night at Northwest Square. Since 2020, Sơn La City has invested over $58 million in the education sector, primarily for upgrading and renovating school facilities, networking, teaching equipment, and the community cultural house system. At the ceremony, the Vietnam Association for Promoting Education gifted financial aid, and philanthropists donated a total of $130,000 to the Theo Education Fund. Bai Choi in Quảng Ninh Province is a multifaceted art form that incorporates music, poetry, acting, painting, and literature. It is steeped in tradition and fosters a sense of community within the village. Recently, this art form has been incorporated into the extracurricular program of numerous local schools, drawing the interest of many students.
To sing the Bai Choi song as fluently as they do today, students at Đào Duy Từ School in Đồng Hới City are given many extracurricular lessons by their teachers. The students not only learn how to sing, but also how to tap the beat accurately.
I'm very interested in the lessons that incorporate folk songs from my homeland, as they allow me to learn more about the creations of our ancestors. Great things often come from small beginnings.
Extracurricular activities, especially those related to folk songs, help me develop a deeper love for my homeland as well as a better understanding of folk tradition and Quảng Bình history.
Bai Choi art was recognized by UNESCO as the intangible cultural heritage of humanity in 2017. In recent years, nearly 20 schools in Quảng Bình have selected this art form for extracurricular lessons.
In our extracurricular programs, we have outlined plans for students to rewrite lyrics for folk songs. They can also take lessons to create traditional instruments themselves. The classes have executed this very well and effectively.
In the future, these activities will be upheld and further promoted. The department has also instructed schools to increase incorporation of folk culture into experiential activities for students.
In Gwangbin, Bai Choi is sustained and arranged to engage a large audience. This has made it an essential spiritual aspect of festivals. Introducing Bai Choi culture into schools in Gwangbin not only helps preserve heritage, but also fosters passion among young people.
March the 20th marks the International Day of Happiness, with this year's theme being Happiness for Everyone. In celebration, Vietnam plans to host numerous events to honor those who perform good deeds and inspire individuals, families, and communities to cultivate happiness. The United Nations has recognized March the 20th as the International Day of Happiness since 2012. All 193 member countries, including Vietnam, are committed to acknowledging this day by striving to enhance the quality of life, establish a just society, promote sustainable development, and bring happiness to their citizens. Coming up next in our world news, North Korea conducts hypersonic missile test. And later on, WMO issues red alert on climate change. Now moving on to our world news, North Korea has successfully tested a solid fuel engine for its new intermediate-range hypersonic missile. The country's leader Kim Jong-un oversaw the test, which occurred on Tuesday at the Sohae satellite launching ground in the northwest. This information comes from the official Korean Central News Agency. State media further stated that due to the significant success of this test, a timetable for completing the development of the new weapon systems has been established. Kim Jong-un emphasized the strategic military value of this weapon system, equating its importance to that of an intercontinental ballistic missile. On Tuesday, U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin emphasized that the U.S. will continue its military support for Ukraine despite ongoing delays in Congress over crucial Ukraine aid funding. The statement was made during a meeting with over 50 defense officials at the 20th Ukraine Defense Contact Group meeting at Ramstein Air Base, Germany. This meeting occurred a week after U.S. defense officials announced the reallocation of $300 million from contract savings to finance a new military aid package for Ukraine. The first portion of this aid package, which included artillery components, began arriving in Ukraine last week. However, the U.S. Congress remains at an impasse over a proposed additional bill worth $95 billion, which includes about $60 billion in aid for Ukraine. Meanwhile, Russia continues to voice its opposition to Western military aid for Ukraine. Russia plans to launch a series of significant projects aimed at rapidly achieving technological sovereignty in key industries. It is anticipated that Russia will invest over $65 billion into these mega projects. The Russian government has compiled a list of 12 mega projects set to begin implementation in 2025. During the online meeting on March the 18th between President Vladimir Putin and government members, First Deputy Prime Minister Andrei Belousov announced the first 4 projects. These include ensuring food security, machine manufacturing and robotic engineering, new medical technology, and new materials and chemistry. President Putin has consistently affirmed that achieving technological sovereignty is a fundamental principle of Russia's development strategy. In a report released on Tuesday, the World Meteorological Organization (WMO) stated that there is a high probability that 2024 will be a record-breaking warm year. They warned that global efforts to reverse this trend have been insufficient. More in the following.
The World Meteorological Organization's annual State of the Global Climate Report stated that average temperatures reached a record high in their 174-year history. Ocean temperatures also reached a 65-year record, with over 90% of the seas experiencing heatwave conditions during the year.
It is an existential threat to vulnerable populations everywhere, and particularly in the island states. Extreme weather, heat waves, floods, droughts, wildfires, and intense tropical cyclones undermine all the Sustainable Development Goals. They cause many billions of dollars in economic losses each year. The cost of climate action may seem high, but the cost of climate inaction is much higher.
Climate change, propelled by the burning of fossil fuels and the natural El Niño climate pattern, set global heat records in 2023. Experts predict a high probability that 2024 will break these records. Tuesday's report highlighted a significant decline in Antarctic sea ice, with the peak level measured at 1 million square kilometers below the previous record. This trend, alongside ocean warming that causes water expansion, has more than doubled the sea level rise rate over the past decade compared to the period from 1993 to 2002.
And now let's have a look at the weather forecast for Vietnam and other locations in the world. And that is all that we have for this hour on VTV News. To rewatch our program, you can visit our website or YouTube channel or download a mobile app VTVgo for more. Thank you for watching, and goodbye for now.